Today we're looking at the second year of World War I, 1915. Hello, welcome to the Daily Bellringer. Please don't forget to subscribe and take a look at the questions down in the description. Also, don't forget to check out dailybellringer.com where you'll find more resources that go with many of the Bellringer videos. The second year of World War I, 1915, would see the implementation of new technologies in the battlefield, both sides embarking on major offensives and the United States being brought to the brink of entering the war. In the previous year of 1914, the opening shots of the war had been fired, and fighting on both the eastern and western fronts in Europe had grinded to a standstill, with hundreds of miles of trenches being established, especially along the western front, and hundreds of thousands of casualties for both sides. Fighting in 1915 began with Russian forces turning their attention to the Ottoman Empire, with a major push into Turkish-controlled land in mid-January. Germany began to turn much of their attention to fighting the British and attacking the British Isles. In mid-January, Germany launched the first Zeppelin bombing raid of the war, using the lighter-than-air balloons to drop several dozen bombs on targets along the east coast of Britain. Then the following month, on February 4th of 1915, Germany declared that the waters around Great Britain was a war zone, and that German battleships and submarines would sink any ship, whether it be a military vessel or civilian ship, that was in that area without warning. German U-boats immediately started inflicting heavy losses on the British, sinking as many as 39 ships by April of 1915, including, on March 11th, the first civilian passenger ship to be sunk, the RMS Falaba, killing 104 people. In response, the British declared that they would be blockading German ports and not allowing any supplies to reach Germany. However, the British plan was to simply escort ships heading for Germany to Allied-controlled ports and not sink the ships. At the same time that the naval war was ramping up, heavy fighting on the Eastern Front was occurring, as throughout February, German forces pushed the Russian army back in the Mazarine Lakes region, resulting in significant losses for the Russians. The French, too, attempted a major offensive against German trenches on the Western Front in February and March, but were unable to make any progress and suffered over 200,000 casualties. In late April, the Second Battle of Ypres in Belgium began, with German forces using poison gas for the first time. German forces released 200 tons of chlorine gas into the air and depended on the wind to carry it across to the Allied lines. Within 10 minutes, 6,000 Allied troops were killed by the poison. The Germans, however, were unable to push forward because they were fearful of coming too close to the gas clouds. Additionally, in late April on the Eastern Front, Allied forces launched the Dardanelles Campaign, landing 70,000 troops on the Gallipoli Peninsula of the Ottoman Empire in an attempt to open up the Black Sea to get access to Russia. However, the peninsula was heavily defended by Turkish fighters. Fighting on the peninsula would go on for months, and eventually the entire campaign was a failure for the Allied forces. On May 7, 1915, a German U-boat sunk the Lusitania, a British passenger ship. Close to 1,200 civilians were killed, including 100 American passengers. President Woodrow Wilson demanded an apology from Germany and compensation from Germany to the families of those who lost lives, as well as demanding Germany stop its policy of sinking ships without warning. Later in the month of May, Italy officially joined the war on the side of the Allies, declaring war on Germany and Austria-Hungary. The summer of 1915 was marked by continued fighting across the Western Front, but little progress was made by either side. In early August, German forces were able to capture Warsaw, and by the end of August, Germany halted its offensive on the Eastern Front, having pushed Russian forces out of Poland. Also at the end of August, Germany announced they would stop their policy of sinking ships without warning. But nonetheless, there was still speculation in America that the U.S. was going to join the war at any moment. In late September of 1915, the British launched an assault on the German position at the Battle of Loos. Here, for the first time, the British used poison gas on the Germans and initially had success pushing German forces back, but after 3 days of fighting, they had to withdraw and really gain nothing. On October 6th of 1915, combined German and Austria-Hungary troops invaded Serbia. Serbian forces had fought off invasion in 1914, but this time they were overwhelmed by the Central Power forces and had to retreat through Montenegro and Albania. By mid-December of 1915, Allied forces began to evacuate the Gallipoli Peninsula, abandoning the offensive into the Ottoman Empire. 1915 had seen intense fighting and casualty numbers rising for both sides. The British and the French especially were reaching a desperate point in which their ability to fight would be stretched to the limit. But within the next few months of 1916, the United States would officially enter the war and turn the tide of the battle. So with that, hopefully you learned something, and thanks for watching.